Just a quick note before we get started. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and isn't intended to be medical advice. We're here to share stories and insights, but when it comes to your health, always check in with a licensed medical professional who knows you and your needs best. Hey everybody, this is Evelyn with Reppin, and thank you so much for being here. Let's be real. Life hits hard sometimes. Whether it's your career, your health, or you're just trying to keep it together. Sometimes it feels like you're just in constant survival mode. And that's exactly why this episode matters. My guest today is someone I have admired for a long time. Not just for his work, but for his grit. So I first saw him in the cult favorite Werewolf, where he played Eric Cord, a student bitten and cursed to turn into a werewolf. It was way ahead of its time, and it was an unforgettable and cool show. But he didn't just stop there. He went on to become Mac Scorpio on General Hospital, a role that was highly sought after. Why? Because Mac is the brother of the Robert Scorpio, one of the most iconic characters in daytime TV. And that legacy is no joke. Not only did he land the part, he made it his own for over 30 years, and he's still going strong. But recently, real life threw him into a whole different kind of role, a brutal, life-threatening health battle. And the stakes were life or death. This conversation is raw, it's human. It's about what it really takes to get through the moments when everything feels uncertain. When your body could be failing, your path is unclear, and you're not sure how you're going to make it through. If you're struggling, stuck, or need to hear from someone who has been through it and has come out stronger, this is for you. So let's get into it. Say hello to John J. York. All right, my friend. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel great. Every day is a new day. Just came back from my doctor yesterday and got some good results.
I'm so glad to see you doing well. And I'm also thrilled that you said yes to being on the show. I've obviously followed your career for a long time. We were chatting a little bit before we started. I've been a fan since Werewolf. So I'm like an OG of the John J. York fan club. First of all, an incredible run on General Hospital, which is an iconic daytime soap, which I grew up on and I loved. And you've been on for like over 30 years. Is that right?
34 years. I was waiting tables at the Cheesecake Factory in Woodland Hills, and my wife was pregnant and she was getting close. I think Skylar's due date was February 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. And I needed a job because I wanted Vicky to be home with the baby as much as we could. Back in those days, it was a different time and a whole different thing then. There were no cell phones. So I got a job at the Cheesecake Factory and I started working. And I remember one night as I was training, I saw Lynn Herring and Wayne Norsford walk into the Cheesecake Factory, believe it or not. And I recognized him and I thought, wow, that's Lynn Herring.
For people who don't know, they are incredible actors that are so well known and beloved on all the daytime programs.
Yes. So anyway, I started worked a lot of double shifts, and Vicky was getting closer. And within, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks, I got a call from my agent that they're casting a major role at General Hospital, Mac Scorpio. What do you want to do? It's Robert Scorpio's brother.
Huge.
I knew he was an Australian, so I got a dialect tape, in practice. They said, don't worry about the accent, just get an essence of it. I went in and I read with Mark Teschner. I did my reading and he said, good effort. And I thought he meant, don't let the door hit me in the butt on the way out. But he called me back and they tested 5 guys. From those 5 guys, they tested 2 more guys, myself and Paul Satterfield, who eventually played Paul. It was Paul.
Yeah, Paul Satterfield played Paul Hornsby on General Hospital.
Wow, good memory. And he was there for a while and I got the job and I was very excited. I think it was like January 14th, somewhere in there, I started working on the show. And February 9th, 3 weeks later, my daughter was born. And here we are 34 years later, don't make me cry. This is going to happen a lot as I talk about my life. 34 years later, 4 grandchildren, and everything is amazing.
What a blessing. I have to be honest with you. I can't remember my own name, but I remember some of the storylines from General Hospital. And I remember Paul Satterfield. But honestly, John, I can't imagine anyone else being Mac Scorpio other than you. You've done such an incredible job, and you're such a fan favorite for very obvious reasons.
Thank you. I'm incredibly blessed and thankful. Truly, it's a miracle to have this job. The audience plays such an important, I don't even know if they really understand how important their role is, because if they don't take to a character, it could be pretty quick in and out for that person.
Yeah.
They welcomed me on the show. Luckily for me, I think I joined an existing storyline with Robert and Anna.
Yes.
Because when I came on the show, Tony Geary came back after a long hiatus. He came on as Bill Eckert, a different character.
Right.
All the fan controversy about whether they liked the character, the new family, and bring people on the show. You've got to let people go on the show. It's a business. It's about budgets and money. And
yeah.
We have a heavy cast right now. At that time, there had to be decisions. And luckily, I was hopefully an added bonus to Robert and Anna.
Come on, John. Clearly, you're a huge asset to the show. And General Hospital, it's one of those shows that have always provided fantastic characters and great storytelling. And I think that will always transcend time. But you kill it as Mac Scorpio. I really mean it. Like, I can't imagine anybody else, respectfully to the other actors, to be Mac Scorpio. You're a werewolf to me first, but Mac Scorpio forever and always.
Thank you. I don't know what to say to that. Daytime is an interesting thing too, where sometimes when something happens and they love that the character is important, they might let a few weeks or months go by and then recast. And the audience, once again, they might ruffle some feathers, but in time they accept and they go with it because, like what you just said, stories.
Yes.
When I meet people on the street, they say, "You're on my stories." It's not, "You're on a soap opera." You're on my stories. I'm like, and we say hi.
Speaking of stories, you also have had an incredible story. In 2022, you were diagnosed with 2 cancers, myelodysplastic syndrome, which is called MDS, as well as smoldering multiple myeloma, which are 2 forms of cancer. Now, any form of cancer is frightening and life-threatening, and you got 2 at once. For my research, you asked the doctors, without any kind of treatment, you only had maybe 3 to 5 years to live. So you opted to go through a very aggressive treatment. Is this right? You went through 7 days of chemo in a row?
I'll try to give you a quick rundown on what happened. Yes, 2 cancers, but you know what? I rarely say the word cancer. I just say I have a blood disorder. I need to give you a quick backstory as well.
Please. Yeah.
I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was 17 years old in high school. The uncomfortableness of this and that, people that suffer with irritable bowel disorder, they know you have to be prepared when you're driving in cars, you're going on a long road trip, different things, your body is not the normal body that everybody else has. So, having said that, that's 45 years. Let's move forward to maybe 10 years ago. My doctor in California would always notice during a colonoscopy or after that there was one section that wasn't healing very well. So he wanted to try a drug called 6-MP, mercaptopurine. So I tried that with the caveat, we have to do blood tests every 6 months just to check your blood. It could cause liver problems or liver issues. We want to make sure, we want to follow it. Okay, fine. Let's try it if it's going to help cure that area. So now I'm on this drug in different levels over time. You start at a low level, you increase to a higher level, and 6 or 7 years go by, and the blood doctor that I was going to, one of the visits, he said, "You know what? I've been doing the blood tests," and he wasn't raising any red flags. He just said, "I'd like to do a deeper test, a deeper dive into the blood thing, because I have a question or two, and I'll be honest, the blood tests tell us so much, but a bone marrow biopsy will really zero in and give me answers to what I'm looking for." And then what I remember most about it is I asked him if it was painful, and he said it was discomfort. And I wanted to kill him at the time because it wasn't just discomfort. It was a little painful.
Okay.
So we did that. And that was I believe it was in October. I think it was December 9th. And I went in and I'm waiting in the office and he comes in with a big stack of papers and he set him down. And as he's walking in, he said, "Is your wife available for a conference call?" I thought, well, that can't be good. So I called Vicky and I said, he wants to talk to us both. And he was using $50 words, medical words, multiple smoldering myeloma. I couldn't even say it at that time.
Right.
And as he was speaking, Vicky just cut in and said, "Does he have cancer?" And she's crying. He said, "Yes." As he's talking, I'm kind of not listening because I'm thinking, how can that be? I feel great. I was walking,
Right.
2.5 miles a day. I was exercising 3, 4, 5 times a week. I felt great. I was playing golf with my buddies. I'm working on the show. Life is going on. And still dealing with the ulcerative colitis / Crohn's. He kind of threw that in a few years earlier. Fine. These are the 3 options which you mentioned. You can do nothing. You can do oral chemo, or you can do the blood stem cell transplant, a bone marrow transplant. And Vicky's like, "He's doing that." I didn't have anything to say about it. Now, the following Saturday, we were moving. Our house was already boxed up. In a week from the next day, Saturday, we were on a plane to move here. I was going to wait to tell my daughter, I was going to wait to tell my daughter what was going on. And I couldn't sleep. So Wednesday morning, whatever it was, I called her and I told her what was happening. And as I was telling her, and she's crying, her husband didn't leave yet for work, stops and is listening. And I was saying, "I'm going to come back and forth to California for my treatments. I'll do it here at UCLA. I'll get the transplant here. And we'll do," not understanding anything about what's about to take place.
Right.
And Mike chimed in. He really saved my life. "No, you're not." He said, "You're coming here to Vanderbilt. It's one of the top university cancer treatment centers in the world, let alone the United States." Okay, fine. That was now the new information. I told my general practitioner about that. She found a doctor at Vanderbilt. I got an appointment on the 28th, and I met him. We got a plan. He explained he must have spent an hour with Vicky and I talking about what was going to happen. To answer your first question, way back when, yes, the process was 7 days a week. I had a 15 to 20-minute round of chemo, and then I had 3 weeks off so that I would fly back and forth to General Hospital when they needed me. I had my hair, and I felt great. And I never felt different. I never felt tired. I never felt any change in my body.
Right.
As time was going by and I'm meeting there was a lot of people to meet, and the team of doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners and just everybody that takes care of you in the process of going in, taking blood and getting the port on my chest, just everything that takes place. While they were, I guess, the hospital is looking for a donor, a blood match for me, I got a phone call from Be the Match, Courtney Lynn, girl from Be the Match. First of all, I wanted to keep this quiet. I really just wanted this to be between me and my wife and my family, because I didn't want it to be, "Oh, John York's got cancer," and all that kind of stuff. I feel fine. Let's not worry about it. I've always felt if I live, I'm in good hands. If I die, I'm in good hands. So either way, it's all fine. And I wasn't worried about it. One day at a time. Courtney calls me and she's talking about Be the Match and how they support everybody, and we're here for this, we're here for that. If you have any questions, whatever you need, call me, call Be the Match. We're here to support you. And I said, fantastic. And toward the end of the call, she said, some people use their platform. When I heard the word platform, I said, "You know what I do for a living?" And she said, "Yeah, we know who you are." And then fast forward, she basically talked me into telling the fans that, what's going on. I put a little something on X, or on Twitter at the time, because the outpouring of support was truly amazing. It was something that I never expected. Everybody was really very wonderful and amazing.
Oh, you're making me cry.
This was overlapping everything with looking for a match. And here's another moment when my nurse practitioner at the hospital called and I got the phone, and I'll never forget this moment. Vicky was sitting in the living room right here, and she said, "They found an exact match." They found an exact match. The news of that was, I can't tell you what, I couldn't believe it. It was a miracle. Jesus Christ in my life, and my faith in my life, and my mom and my dad in my life, and everyone in my life, just all the love and things that happened. So that miracle happened, and we couldn't believe it. People with the post, people went to be the match, and people were donating money, and they were donating their blood, getting tested to be a donor. So all these very good things were happening all at the same time, and it was crazy. While getting the chemo treatment and flying back and forth.
And still working.
Still working. Once they had the match, that's when I asked the nurse, Ann was her name, when should I stop working? And this worked out perfectly as well, because it's all kind of a guess when they get all the things together. The donor has to go through a battery of tests.
It's a lot.
I had to go through a battery of tests. So I asked, when should be my last day to fly back so I could tell the show? And I believe they said they were shooting for November. So October was my last time on the show. And I went in on, I think it was a Thursday, and they gave me what they call the carpet bombing of chemo to go in and basically kill all my cells to make room for the new cells. And then I got the transplant on Friday, it's just a little transfusion bag of blood.
Little bag. It doesn't even look like anything.
It's like nothing. And they said it's very anticlimactic. And it was. I mean, the bag, 30 minutes later, it was over. I did a Zoom with the family and friends, and everybody was there watching. And, we're all laughing and having a good time, and everything was fantastic. And then, okay, it's over. They take the bag out. The nurses go out. I say goodbye to my family. And I'm just sitting in the room. And I would say about 2.5 hours later, I describe it as West Side Story. The two gangs collided.
Okay.
My cells felt like, who are you guys? What's going on here?
Right. When you're a jet all the way.
Yeah. And my body reacted. That was the most interesting, challenging, I want to say challenging, not difficult, challenging times. And that lasted about 12 hours. So we got through that. They kept me one more day. And I went home on a Sunday. So I had the transplant on a Thursday and went home on Sunday. And Vicky was my nurse, and she took care of me. I couldn't have done anything without her. She's just the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me, and I don't deserve her. If it wasn't for her, and if it wasn't for my daughter and my son-in-law and my grandchildren, the people at work, Christina Wagner, John Lindstrom, calling me all the time, Frank Valentini, my executive producer, texting me and calling, checking in to see how I'm doing. It was unbelievable. And then I asked, when can I go back to work? I was hoping to go back in May or in April, and they suggested May, and that worked out.
I don't know anyone that has not been touched by cancer. My family is certainly no different. So I do understand the rigors of your whole life, and your family's life is completely redefined by this disease. You're at the behest of how you feel, the medical appointments, the litany of medical appointments. It's completely overwhelming. And to have chemo, even just one chemo treatment, can kick anyone's ass any day of the week. The fact that you went through such an aggressive treatment is amazing. And thank God you're doing well, and thank God for the support system. There must have been many moments within yourself that you struggled with uncertainty and fear and worry. And what was so interesting is, as you were talking about understanding that you were sick, even though you didn't feel sick, that's one whole thing to reckon with just internally. But it seemed clear to me as you were talking that you were much more concerned about making sure that your daughter and your family were taking the news okay. You said you were more worried about telling your daughter Skylar about your being sick. It says a lot about you, just in terms of, at that moment, you're grappling with this life-threatening disease. Not disease, in your case, 2 diseases. And you were much more concerned with how you were going to break it to your family.
All of us are on the same journey with the same outcome. And I have the greatest mom and dad in the world, and they raised their children as Catholics. And I don't like attention for myself. Here I am, an actor, and I don't like attention.
Okay.
I never thought about cancer, and I never really thought about this is going to be a problem. It was always one day at a time. Even within that one day at a time, it became 1 hour at a time. And it was more important after the transplant. That kind of happened after I found the news from that doctor. And it was something in the back of my mind and thinking about it, but not until we got to Tennessee and I met my doctor and hearing about the treatments and the chemo and the rounds and all these things. Okay, one day at a time. Vicky's going to be my nurse.
Vicky, your wife, right?
Vicky's my wife. So right now, let's just go to the airport. That's the first thing. Now we get there safely. Now we get on an airplane. Let's get to California safely. So each thing was its own thing. It wasn't like, what's going to happen when I get to California? It was, let's just get to the airport right now. And that ran through the whole process of chemo, transplant, the 100-day quarantine, being home, being able to go and walk. My grandchildren, my son-in-law would drive the kids in the van when they'd wave to me in the window, so I'd see him. My youngest grandson, Joshua, was born, so we didn't even get to see him or hold him for 3 months, and that was awful. We got to see him through the window. But again, it's one day at a time, and it's really just a deep faith in God and Jesus, in the Holy Spirit, working in me, working in my family, working around me. Everybody has a different experience with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Some cancers are incredibly aggressive. For those people, my heart, I wouldn't know what to say, except you're here right now, and you're here right now with your family, your loved ones, and whoever you're with, and hold their hand and share your time with them and smile and be happy and be joyful because we're here and we're here together. And it's amazing because one day it's not going to be that way.
Right.
You don't want to have a regret. Oh, gosh, I wasted that time. You want to really, truly enjoy every moment.
Yeah.
My grandson, Elijah, who's 7, going to be 8 in July, he plays baseball. I'm home from practice, and I'm exhausted from a day of whatever's going on. We come home from school right outside. But we're going to play catch. Let's play catch. Okay, great. We play catch for an hour and a half. Dinner time. He gets called in for dinner, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I get to go home now. I'm going to have dinner and watch a little TV. And as we're walking into the house, he'll say, Pop, after dinner, you want to pitch to me? It's like, oh.
You're like, oh, God.
I'll pitch to you till midnight. You don't want to miss an opportunity. So say yes and go home and have a hot dog instead of a baked potato. It's just all these moments that become so much more important.
I have to say that you take one day at a time. That's a very difficult lesson to learn in general. I'm speaking from my personal experience. When you're dealing with something that is so frightening as cancer or as an illness that's life-threatening to either yourself or someone you love, it's even more difficult to take that 1 second at a time if it's too much. I think for me personally, as a television producer, my job is always to think 50 steps ahead, right? It's always to be prepared and to be motivated to find a solution before it even happens. That was incredibly difficult for me to just take it 1 second at a time. And it's still something that I need to work at. And I think that's a lesson that's so precious, especially when we're not dealing with an illness, because we have every opportunity to drink in every single moment and be present. Hearing you throw a ball with your grandson, even though I'm sure you must have wanted to just kick your shoes off, but you went and did it because you didn't want to miss that moment. Because it's not always the big things, it's the small everyday things.
I will say, as a producer, you work with a lot of people. So, and I'm sure I'm sure quite a bit of aggravation about things that are not getting done, things that people
somewhat
aren't understanding what you need. So those are opportunities to maybe just make a turn and take those extra seconds instead of the frustration of what's not getting done.
I ask what we can do.
Try to slow it down. You won't slow time down, but you can slow down the moments. Mm-hmm. Instead of being frustrated and aggravated, even before you're presented with that aggravation, slow down. Well, let's just see what's happening. And what happened? Oh, you didn't do that. Let's see what can be done about that.
Exactly.
To fix this situation.
Yes.
Changes your relationships with everyone. I pray a lot because this is important to me. And some people ask me, what do you do? And this is the personal side of me that nobody knows. I've never talked about this ever. I'll tell you that. It's what my mom and dad gave me, and it's what I want them to see me as, even though they're gone and they're in heaven. And trust me, I have made many mistakes in my life, and I'm far away from being a perfect person.
No one is.
Yeah, I try to do the right things and prayer. I like to start
Yes.
my day with prayer. So there's a lot of prayers that I say. And in one of the prayers, it's living each day at a time, taking one moment at a time. And another thing is, help me to see the face of God, to see the face of God in the people and experiences of my life. So when I'm out and about, if I'm at the grocery store or if I am at the ball field and someone stops me, if I'm with a fan that sees me and says hello,
Yeah.
I think of that and I see the face of God in this person and I listen to them and I take my time with them and I want to make this experience joyful for them. In return, it's joyful for me because we find out about things and we talk about stuff and it's a pleasant experience. I just saw a gal. Where was she? It was at Costco. She was very excited to see me. She wasn't sure. She saw me and told her husband and bumped into me later on. And I said, it's me. And I said, do you have a cell phone? We took a selfie and it was just a really pleasant experience. But I had that thought, see the God in everything and everyone. And it's very helpful.
That's wonderful that you were able to draw strength from it. I want to also go back to something that you said as we're talking and as you're sharing these stories. What's so incredible is your sense of gratitude and your sense of family. Going back to how you spend time and cherish your moments with your family. And also, you do have an extended family at General Hospital. You had mentioned John Lindstrom, who's an actor and your co-star. You talked about Christina Wagner, who's also like one of the OGs and icons of General Hospital, who I've loved, who played Felicia Jones. And she was your love interest for a long time, which I was very excited about. And when I say family, I mean, it's not just blood family. I'm talking about people who generally love you and support you and are with you. Can you talk about what family means to you and how you drew strength from that support that you got from your extended family at General Hospital, from your co-stars, and certainly your family, your daughter, your wife, your son-in-law, your grandkids? Can you talk about what family and that gratitude and support means to you? Has that been redefined after you've battled this illness?
I don't know that it's been redefined. It's been more of a laser focus on how wonderful everybody has been and has always been to me.
Right.
You take relationships for granted, you take friendships for granted, you're happy and joyful and you spend kind times and nice times with everybody. But see, you're asking me these questions.
Oh,
My family, for one, everybody just jumped in the pool with me and was very supportive and not even emotional, just supportive and like, we're going to get through this. It's going to be fine. I can't even put it into words. It was just a normal, natural thing. But at work, after I made the post, every person that I bumped into the first day that I went to work hugged me. And people that you just kind of walk past and maybe say good morning to are saying, hey, John, good luck. They gave me a hug. Everybody came up and gave me a hug.
oh,
People were coming out of the booth and giving me a hug. And people were coming down from the booms and from the property department. Everybody gave me a hug. Christina, we had a meeting with 800 people in the room, and I was sitting there by the door. She just sweeps in and sits on my lap and gives me the biggest hug. John Lindstrom, just a lot of people, they just shake your hand and they hug you and they look you in the eye and they don't even have to say anything. You don't even say words.
you don't need it. Do you need a minute, John?
I'm okay. I'm so overwhelmed by everything. And that's why I'm appreciative and I'm humbled by it all. And I'm grateful for it all. I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful for my family. I just really appreciate it all. I have so many blessings in my life and I want to just be a good guide to everybody.
I think you're doing that very well. I think you're doing that very well. It's clear that you're grateful. You talked about not wanting to share this and keeping this battle private, which completely respectful and understand that. But then when your nurse talked about using your platform and paying it forward, you have done that since. Can you talk about the work that you're doing now to help others? Because you said getting this little bone marrow bag was anticlimactic. It literally looks like just a little Ziploc bag with a tube in
Right.
it. But that little bag was the bag that saved your life. And someone did that for you. We just met. But even before you got sick, it seems like you've always been a very grounded and kind man. That's how you strike me. Now, with all that you've experienced, you are now in turn continuing to pay that gratitude forward by working with a few really important organizations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you for bringing that up because it is very important and
so important.
Part of the journey, part of the transplant. First of all, Be the Match has been amazing. Again, the nurses and doctors and the team.
It's a village.
Yeah, it's a organization of people that work together. The doctors, there's just not one doctor. There's dozens, and they all know about all the patients. They all go over and collaborate and go over all the information. And from my journey with Be the Match, the organization that I'm working with now and helping in whatever way they need is called the GVHD Alliance, gvhdalliance.org. So when you get a stem cell transplant, there are some side effects. It's GVHD, which is graft versus host disease. So the graft, it's the graft versus the host. I'm the host and the donor, the cells meet, they're battling for position in your body, could get side effects. One of them, I've developed a rash, my arms, my chest, a little bit of my face. There's a situation that occurs in your mouth, which I'm still dealing with that now. It affected my vision. I was driving and I'm thinking, I just had these new glasses done. Why is my license plate blurry? So I called, and that's another thing, the support system within the hospital and all the team of doctors within the different areas. You just make a text and they respond within 2 days of your question. And I asked, could GVHD affect my vision? And she said, yes. So I'm thinking, oh no. And I just had about 2 or 3 pairs of glasses, lens. So that was a lot of money out the window. Go back to normal.
Oh, wait. So your vision does go back to normal?
It could.
It could.
And I think it kind of has. I'm going to have, believe it or not, I'm just scheduled for another recheck, my yearly recheck next week. So I'll see if anything's changed. But the GVHD Alliance folks, they're a large organization, a large group of people around the world helping people with transplants and the side effects that come with. Hopefully they can give answers. If anybody out there that's listening and you have someone that's going through a transplant and they're dealing with these side effects, questions about anything, just go to gvhdalliance.org and someone will be there to pick up the phone, to answer your questions, to direct you to the right place that you might need to go to get the answers you're looking for. But there's a lot of help out there.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a well-oiled machine, and there's a lot of support. They also give you that human support, right? That hug, the virtual hug that your friends and family give you that are there for you, but they're there for that technical support.
It's overwhelming otherwise. A bomb just went off in your life and you're dropped in this life and death situation that you're going to be very sick. You know nothing about it. It's overwhelming to get that support from all ends, from an organization that can help provide information and walk you through it a little bit, as well as your family in all senses of the words. I can't imagine going through something like this without those things.
Right. I want to say part of this journey. So I was talking about my ulcerative colitis. When I was diagnosed with this and I told my doctor in California what was going to happen to the transplant, he said, if this bone marrow transplant, stem cell transplant works, it's probably going to heal your colitis and Crohn's. And after 3-4 months of the chemo that I was going through, I was noticing a difference. And knock on wood, it's cured. I don't have that issue anymore.
That's great.
You got one thing and you get it's a miracle. It's an unbelievable miracle that I don't have that problem anymore.
That's wonderful. After a lifetime of battling it, go back to this. Why was it important for you to continue? Because I don't think anyone would fault you. Sometimes people are still overwhelmed by what they're experiencing and they don't want to deal with it anymore. They want to move forward. But it was important for you to continue giving others a hand up. Like right now, you're talking about how important it is for you to stay involved and to promote the National Marrow Donor Program and to be active and to use your platform to talk about that. Talk a little bit about why it was important to you to continue working with these organizations and getting the word out there of the important work that they do.
Being on television and having, I don't really have a platform.
You do.
I have visibility or whatever that is. Yes, I didn't want to say anything, but Courtney talked me into using who I am and what I do as a way to communicate to people that don't have that or otherwise might feel isolated and scared and nervous, and to maybe let them know it's okay to be scared and nervous, but you're going to be okay. And in the long run, you're going to be okay no matter what. If I can communicate from this vessel, enjoy your day. Enjoy each day. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy your family. Do whatever you can to get through the day, even through the pain. Even when you experience a lot of pain, do what you can to get through that 30 seconds, then the next 30 seconds, then the next minute, then the next half hour, and so on throughout your day until someone's going to come and visit you and talk to you.
I know what I'm about to ask you is a huge question, but after everything you've gone through, what's been the most precious lesson you've taken away that you actively now implement?
Be joyful in the moment. Be joyful in the moment, because we experience a lot of things. Be joyful in someone cutting you off on the freeway. Put your foot off the gas and hit the brakes and let them in. Just be joyful that you're still alive and you didn't get in an accident. Be joyful if someone cuts in front of you in line at the grocery store. Okay, are you really in that big of a hurry? I've come to this because I haven't always been like this. And it is my faith in Jesus and the Holy Spirit in my life. And my daughter has transformed me because it's her journey through life. I was raised a Catholic and I went away and I didn't even become a kitchen Catholic. I was in the pantry and living my life and doing my thing and being a teenager and being a kid in school, being a kid in college and getting into trouble and making all the wrong, stupid, idiot decisions.
That's what you do as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Skylar's life changed as she was getting older. And even though she was baptized, we didn't really raise her as a practicing Catholic. It wasn't until she went to college that it was in high school where she went to a Catholic high school and asked about communion. How come my friends go to communion or whatever? What do I have to do that? This is just the hand of God working in my life throughout my life. And I told her, and she wanted to do that. So she went through RCIA and she became a Catholic, and life is still the same. Now she goes to college and I say, you know what, find a church. And she made good friends. She still was a college girl and probably making some bad choices herself. I'm not sharing all that with mom and dad.
No.
And
it'll be on Instagram instead.
She was getting old into her senior year. She's giving thought about what do I want to do with my life? And she became a Focus missionary. Focus is a Catholic organization. It's the Fellowship of Catholic University Students. So she became a missionary. She traveled and did a lot of wonderful things. She did a lot of things for the Catholic Church. It was at that point when she made that decision that she just went full, she just jumped in the ocean, full body, full everything. And it was me observing her, because I didn't give that to her. The Holy Spirit gave that to her. There was a hand that reached out for her and pulled her to him. And she accepted that hand and she went with that hand. And it's because of that I think God was able to refine who I really should be and should have been all these years, and who I want to be now, and who I want to be until I'm no longer on this earth. That's what I want to follow. Still doesn't mean I don't get mad. I still got to take out the garbage. I still get frustrated.
You're human.
It's that trust. It's that faith. It's that humility. It's that gratitude. It's everything is a blessing. Everything truly is a blessing. That's how I feel. And all these people that I meet along the way in the hospitals and the nurses, and they just give their time in these jobs that I know they get thanked, but they're kind of thankless jobs. They just do this work and they help. When I was in the hospital, it's like, you come and you wait with 100 other people, and then a room opens, and then that person goes in that room, and then you wait for another room to open. And it's just this conveyor belt of patients coming in for chemotherapy, all day long, 7 days a week. And their skills are always good.
It's incredible.
I want to absorb that, in my journey.
I think you are. I really think you are. I mean, you're doing it every single day. So, John, I got to ask you to do their signature sign off. John, will you let me know who you are and what you represent?
I am John J. York, and I represent the bent knee at the foot of the cross of Jesus Christ. And that's what I represent.
A huge, huge thank you to John J. York for being with me, for showing up with so much honesty, strength, and grace. Through everything he has faced, John continues to lead with humility, warmth, and a kind of quiet light that resonates far beyond the screen. If this conversation offered you clarity, comfort, or just reminded you of what resilience really looks like, share this episode with someone who could use that light and strength right now. Leave a review, subscribe, and follow us on social because these stories matter, and your support helps us keep them coming. You can find us on Instagram at Reppin_podcast. Thank you always to Nelson Pinero, my musical composer and technical director, for all of his time and work on the show. Reppin is a Suburban Outlaw Productions. I'm Evelyn. Thank you again so much for listening. And until next time, stand up and represent.